horror fans and horror geeks. Welcome to the Chop Block, the only block where the horror community can come together to sit back, relax, and enjoy the genre. I'm your host, Ashton Austin, and I hope you'll chill with me as I dive into cinema's most unique genre, providing screams and scares for decades. So to all my final boys and of course my final girls, grab your coat hangers, grab your knives, and of course your guns. Because I hate to be the one to tell you this, but you're next on the Chop Block. Alright, here's our categories. We have Don't F with the Original. They should have made the sequel, Mr. Ghostface. It's an honor. Jesus, what a rat-looking homo-repressed mama's boy. I'm sorry. And then who gives a F about movies? And starting off, it is the original, the first kill of the franchise. We're starting off with Casey Becker, and I'm gonna put her in. I'm gonna put Casey in It's an Honor. Casey's a good character. She's not a great character. Casey showed some resiliency. Casey showed that, you know, if circumstances were a little different, maybe if it was daytime, maybe if, she lived somewhere else. Because if Casey didn't live in the middle of nowhere, just how Sydney did, but she survived. But if Casey didn't live in the middle of nowhere, Casey would have survived. Casey definitely successfully duped the killers. She was out of the house before the killers got in the house. Unfortunately, she had nowhere to go, and being the teenage girl she is, I can understand that she was shook. She just saw a person running around in a black costume in her house, and so that would shake anybody. And so of course she was scared to move, and so unfortunately Casey did not survive, but she did help to give birth to this beautiful franchise. The next character is Billy Loomis, and of course he is in Don't F with the Original. Billy is the original killer, the original mastermind. Billy thought of all of this, and Billy just being the original mastermind, Billy is one of the few antagonists in the Scream franchise where you're not ready for him to die, and you wouldn't mind seeing him again in the films, as they did in Scream 5 and Scream 6. Billy is a true antagonist for the Scream franchise and even becomes an anti-hero in the latter Legacy sequels. So it was good to see. And, of course, Billy Loomis is in Don't F with the Original because, it was all Billy. And, of course, Stu, too. We'll get to that later. Next is Dewey. Moment of silence. Dewey is of course in Don't F with the Original. I'm gonna put him behind Billy. Now I am gonna rank these characters in their tiers, so keep note of that. They will be ranked in their tiers. Okay, so yeah, Dewey of course is the lighthearted, goofy cop who, while he doesn't do his job well enough, he's just lovable, and you can tell that Dewey has good intentions and he only wants to help. But unfortunately, Dewey finds himself inept and inadequately equipped to do the job at hand each time by himself at least. He gets better as the films go along, and he was even really good in Scream 5. But unfortunately for Dewey, he doesn't do enough when needed. Next is one of the fiercest characters in the franchise, the Gale Weathers. She is ahead of them all. Gale Weathers is the fierce workaholic who will do anything for a story, which is why she puts herself into this Ghostface nonsense when she did not have to. We are originally seen to see Gale as a villain, but as you watch more of the film and you watch how it all uncovers, well, Gale's just a reporter, but you can tell Gale has a good heart. Gale has time and time again helped Sydney through multiple third acts, coming up clutch with shots on the killers, disarming killers. Gale does her thing when it's time. In the most recent Scream, Gale did get a very bad attack done on her, and we didn't see her for the rest of that film, but she survived it. So yeah, Gale is definitely in a league of her own above the rest of these characters in the Don't F with the Original. Our next character is Hembry, Principal Hembry, and he's going down in Jesus, what a rat-looking homo-repressed mama's boy. Principal Hembry is, well, first thing first, I felt like he was kind of a creep Obviously, Hembry acted very creepily, especially when Sydney came to be interrogated by the police and he did the little thing with her chin. Principal Hembry's creepy. He also talks to his students very strongly when he was threatening the two pranksters running around in Ghostface costumes. I mean, did he say some things that were right? Yeah, but then, he said, fairness would be the, rip your insides out and hang you from a tree to expose the truth. And you're a principal and you just can't say those things to students. So yeah, Principal Hembry, nobody cared when he died. I don't think I cared when he died. His death assisted the plot, which is why I didn't put him in Who Gives a F About Movies, because him dying and being hung from the goal pole at the football field does help to clear out Stu's house. So Hembry does play a little part in the plot. So that is why I put Principal Hembry, excuse me, I think I said Henry before, but I put Hembry in Jesus What a Rat-Looking Homo-Repressed Mama's Boy for that reason there. Our next character is Kenny. Now I'll put Kenny in It's an Honor. Kenny was good. Kenny had few speaking lines, he had few moments, but he was good. Kenny was trying to help Sydney. Kenny obviously loved his job. He respected Gail very much. Kenny was good. Unfortunately, Kenny did not make it, but he was a good body to put in front of Sydney. So she could, again, evade Ghostface throughout the whole chase that was happening in the climax of the first film. So that is why I put Kenny in It's an Honor. Now I will keep Casey above him just because Casey is that opening kill, and that opening kill is just hard to beat. Randy is a don't F with the original, and I'll keep this how it is. Randy is definitely a don't F with the original. Randy was the one who made Scream, essentially. Randy brought the meta. Now, Ghostface was going to call you, and he was going to talk about a couple of films, but Randy really ramped it up. You see Randy at the party watching Halloween. Randy's making all the references. Randy's giving you the rules. And Randy did this all the way up to Scream 3. So definitely Randy in the don't F with the original tier. Now, just because it says don't F with the original, please keep that in mind, does not mean that all these characters will be original characters. That is just more a tier for characters who are really, really good, okay? Our next character is Sheriff Burke. He goes in Who Gives a F About Movies. Sheriff Burke was terrible at his job. He did nothing in catching the Ghostface Killer. The Ghostface Killer was caught by, Sidney Prescott and Gail Weathers. The deputy, when you're in a small town like Woodsboro, I don't know who are the deputies, but the deputy you put on the case was not a good decision. I understand we love Dewey, but why put Dewey on the case? Dewey is inept to work. There has never been a killing spree like this in Woodsboro, and now you have yourself a serial killer or a mass murderer. Well, a serial killer definitely, because happened a different day. So yeah, you have yourself a serial killer on your hands, and you have an inept deputy dealing with the main target of this. So that was not a smart decision on Sheriff Burke's hand, and that put Sheriff Burke's in the bottom tier, because other than that, Sheriff Burke had no story, no plot correlation for us, really. Sidney Prescott. She is don't F with the original, and she is, excuse me. She is number one. Sidney Prescott is the final girl to end all final girls. Sidney Prescott is known as one of the Scream Queen, the survivor. That is Sidney Prescott 5 films later, for her at least, but really 6 films later, because she technically survived Scream 6. She wasn't in it, but she is in it per se. She assisted in killing Richie and Amber, and guess what? She survived Scream 6 when Richie's family was getting revenge. So yes, Sidney Prescott is the final girl to end all final girls. She's equipped, she's smart, she has fast reaction, she has a heart of gold, and she cares about others. Of course, down the line, Sidney develops some trust issues, and really, when we're thrown into the story to meet Sidney, from the jump, Sidney is just a character you care about. You just want to put your arms around and protect, because they bring her in as a troubled teenage girl who feels like she should have to rush giving up her virginity to her boyfriend. Her mother has passed away, and that's creating trauma because she was murdered. And then Gail Weathers, a tabloid reporter, is calling her a liar to the media. And while she wasn't necessarily lying, Gail was correct. She had her facts incorrect. But, you know, it's just hard to not like Sydney, and they make her the ultimate likable character while also being the ultimate final girl at the same time. Stu Macher. I put Stu up there. I'll put him behind Dewey. He's definitely in Don't F with the original. Stu is just the crazy wild card. So, you know, when you look at Billy and you think there are some normal spots in Billy, Stu cancels them all out. Stu is ready for it all. Stu is the muscle. Stu is ready to do the footwork. Stu is going to do all the killing that needs to be done. And Stu was a well-developed character. He was dating Tatum. He was a good comic relief for the film, and he was expertly played by Matthew Lillard. And he gave one of the best over-the-top performances I'd ever seen in cinema. Not horror, cinema. I feel a little woozy here. It was great. It was great. He was a scene stealer. Stu was not meant to be that much of a scene stealer. I know. So yeah, I'm definitely gonna put Stu and Don't F with the original. And finally, Tatum, and she'll be the first to go in the tier from one of her quotes. Now, this isn't a direct quote because I changed it around, but you know, please don't kill me, Mr. Ghostface. I want to be in the sequel. And so she's going in. They should have made the sequel, Mr. Ghostface. Tatum to be playing the final girl's best friend. You know, she really made a mark on the film. And a lot of times she's just there to be a meaningful body for the film. But Rose McGowan and, of course, Kevin Williamson writing Tatum so well. She was just a character that the audience just came to love. And you didn't want to see Tatum die, but you knew for the betterment of the film and emotional depth and character development, Tatum was probably going to die. She's very reminiscent of Annie from Halloween 1978. You know, Laurie's best friend. She's wild. She kind of offsets Laurie. She's got a wild boyfriend, and she's just doing all the things that Laurie wasn't doing. And that's essentially what Tatum was for Sydney. Sydney's got a boyfriend, but she's not doing wild things with him. Tatum has a boyfriend. She's doing everything with hers. I mean, it's just a simple, you know, opposites attract. And Sydney and Tatum were great best friends. Next character is Cece Cooper. Cece. I don't know about Cece. I'm gonna put Cece in It's an Honor. And I'll put her above Kitty. Cece was good, and Cece had a good heart, and you could tell she was a good character. And unfortunately, this was before the time of Uber or Lyft, and so Cece had to stay home. And unfortunately, just because things like that were not around, bad service on campus, negligent campus security even after the murder started, Cece unfortunately lost her life. But Cece was just a victim. She was just a name victim, literally. She was a victim they took so the names could correlate, so they could try to pull off the illusion that they were copying the original Woodsboro murders. And so that's what was unfortunate about Cece. She was a good character. You could tell she had a boyfriend, Ted. He may have been a bit of an abusive drinker, but she was trying to help him. You know, she was being very patient with him, and she was just chilling in her sorority home, watching a movie. And that's what sucks for Cece. And that's what sucks for some characters in Scream. It's just that they just die to die. And that sucks. Our next one is Cotton Weary. Cotton Weary, he's definitely going, and they should have made the sequel, Mr. Ghostface. Cotton Weary is a good character. Cotton was falsely accused of murder. We see Cotton in Scream 2. All Cotton wants is 15 minutes of fame. Cotton wants to be able to market the pain and trauma Sydney just made him go through, and he's entitled to that. Did he borderline on harassment in Scream 2? Yes, he did. Did she have to agree to an interview for him to save her life in Scream 2? Yes, she did. But regardless of the fact, Cotton got what Cotton needed. Cotton was doing for Cotton. Y'all saw Cotton in Scream 3. Y'all saw him. He was huge. So yes, Cotton was doing for Cotton, and I cannot be mad at that. He was falsely accused. His bedroom business was aired out. Apparently he was sleeping with a married woman. So, you know, Cotton was essentially just one of those characters that just got dead wrong. And then, you know, after he finally gets a little bit of a reprieval, you know, some reparations, he dies in Scream 3, and as an opening nonetheless. And I just thought it was really good. I don't know if he knew her location or maybe he had her phone number, but I just thought it was really, really good how Cotton really, you know, stayed protective of Sydney. He could have easily gave, you know, he don't know Sydney like that. He could have easily gave Sydney up. He could have gave up her location to Ghostface. Now, he doesn't know that probably wouldn't have stopped Ghostface from killing his girlfriend. Or maybe it would have. I don't, you know, we don't know what Roman's angle was. We don't know if Roman was definitely a true psychopath, but we don't know where his angle was. We don't know if he took the game seriously. We are yet to see a Ghostface play by the rules. So maybe we'll see that at some time in this franchise. Maybe we won't. We don't know. But regardless, Cotton was a good character. He did what he had to do for himself. And I can respect that, and that's why he's in It's They Should Have Made the Sequel, Mr. Ghostface. Derek is going in It's an Honor. Derek was a good character. Obviously, Derek was a red herring. He was made to look like a softer, sweeter Billy Loomis, and he was obviously made for the audience not to trust him, and for the characters in the film not to trust him. But of course, if you're the audience member, you're thinking, well, Scream 1, the boyfriend was the killer, so Derek's definitely not the killer. But of course, to the characters, there is no audience. And so that would make Derek good. Derek contributed to the plot. He was a very dynamic character. It was unfortunate to see him go out the way he went out. You can tell he truly loves Sydney. And you can tell that Sydney kind of loved him too. I don't know if it was full. Now, he was showing full compassionate love for Sydney. I don't know if she reciprocated to that level, but she obviously reciprocated to some level. You can see her wearing his Greek letters in Scream 3. So obviously Derek had some type of love from Sydney, so it was good to see.